Sunflower. I'm your host, Kat. Today I brought on a co-host, and I'm gonna let him introduce himself.
I am Chris, and yeah, I'm married to this crazy one.
Yep, I am crazy. So since this is going to be the first episode of Peachy Sunflower, kind of wanted to just throw out what this podcast is going to be about. I decided to start a podcast just because I got to do one with Chris, and we'll get into which podcast he does later. I got to do it with one of Chris's friends' wives, which actually has turned into a good friend, and I really enjoyed it. And so I just thought it'd be kind of something fun to start. This podcast will be a little bit different. If you listen to podcasts, sometimes you see a consistent host or you just see one person. Sometimes those hosts switch up, but I have decided just to keep it fun, and I'm going to switch out co-host throughout the episodes. You'll probably be seeing this awesome guy more in my podcast, hearing him more in the podcast because he has to live with me. So without further ado, I'm going to let Chris talk about himself a little bit just so you guys know him, and then I'll talk about myself if you don't know me, which I'm hoping I get to get some new followers and listeners, and that way they can just get to know us and enjoy talking about many different things. So Chris, go ahead.
All right, so I'm Chris again. I do this on another podcast, Workbench After Hours by Boomstick Tactical LLC. It's my buddy Keith's podcast that we co-host and talk a lot about shop talk and guns and things because that's some of our interest, and we just pretty much shoot the shit the entire time. So yeah, and then what else would you like to talk about?
I don't know. What interests do you have? You know what you're not allowed to talk about on here, so I should tell you guys. I did tell him you can't talk about certain things on mine just because you had to talk about those on the other podcast. And also, it's nothing that interests me or I know about, but I still want people to talk about their expertise in things that maybe people can pick up tips and tricks. They don't know something. You've taught me a lot about things that I had no clue about, and so I think that's kind of fun. So just name some of your things that you love doing.
Well, I like anything where I have to work on something. So mostly cars. I do work on trucks every once in a while, but I like cars, primarily like old school muscle cars, sports cars, things like that. I also like sports a lot. It doesn't matter which sport I prefer usually though. Football, basketball. I watch baseball when it's interesting and the Royals are actually playing good. I like playing disc golf sometimes, and just sports in general I usually like. And then just fixing things randomly throughout the house or at work. So
you'll just go sit through soccer games all the time, right?
Yeah, I don't know about that. So
I like teasing about sports because he is not a soccer fan, and our son started playing soccer this year, so we're learning the rules. So I'm gonna have to bring someone on here, which I think I have a person in mind to talk about soccer, just because I need to learn. I feel like one of us needs to learn, and I'll take that for us. Take one for the team. All right, so I think then today we're gonna talk about something a little bit different, but before we get going, I kind of forgot to bring up what we're drinking. So I, of course, have peach glasses, and I should talk about how this name came about, give credit where it's due. But first, what are we drinking?
We are drinking Cork's Hard Seltzer Raspberry Rocket Poppet Seltzer.
If you're recording, I'll hold it up.
Yeah.
But if you're listening, you can't see it. But
it's made by Boulevard Brewing Company. It's here in Kansas City locally, so that's where we're from and live currently. And actually, fun fact, the Rocket Raspberry Pops actually were invented in Kansas. So if people didn't know that, cool. Now you do. But it pretty much tastes like a popsicle in a glass with alcohol.
Yep. Pretty much. So the reason I decided to make him drink something is they do whiskey tasting on your podcast. Have you guys ever done any other alcohol?
Nope, just whiskey.
Okay, and when I got to do with Marie, she had me do champagne. So I figured with mine, I'm going to kind of go either with what's kind of in season, what's new, or what my co-host likes. However, when you're on, you know we can't drink whiskey.
Yep.
Fun fact, I kind of break out in hives, or I am done within like 5-10 minutes and I'm asleep. So I don't do well with whiskey. So thank you for drinking cork.
Yep.
All right, so talked about your interest and we brought up the cork, and that reminded me of the peach. So the Peachy Sunflower came about because I got to do that podcast with Marie, and I really want to start a podcast, and Keith kind of walked me through it, and he's like, what are you gonna name your podcast? That's the most important thing. And I was like, I don't know. That was hard. And kind of asked me things, and I go, I was born and raised in Georgia. I still have those southern roots in me. I love things from the South. Peaches are my favorite things. But I also really like sunflowers and the wheat fields and things like that. And so he kind of said like Peachy Sunflower. And I was like, oh. So that's stuck. So thanks to Keith for helping with that name. And that's just, Peachy Sunflower works out. So I figured because of that, I probably should just say a little bit about myself, I guess, for those who don't know. I'm Kat, or full name Catherine. It's funny because wherever I'm at, it depends on who calls me Catherine. He'll only call me Catherine if he's frustrated. He'll be like, Catherine. And I'm like, oh, no, he did not. So that's how I know he means, business when you talk. Otherwise, it's Kat. So Kat for everybody, and I was born and raised in Georgia and then moved here, so people call me a Kansas transplant, kind of funny. And I have had a lot of different jobs, so I think this will be kind of fun because I feel like I've had a lot of different jobs, so I can kind of talk about those, and that'll be fun. And I've had to move around a lot, which is what we're going to topic's going to be about. But my interests are reading. I love reading. I love Disney. I love anything Harry Potter. I actually just made you watch The Secrets of Dumbledore. I'm sorry, but it was good. So anything Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts, Disney. I love sports. So Chiefs, Falcons, KU, UGA, Braves, Royals, so those. I like animals, but we don't have a lot, but I love animals.
Yeah.
And that's about it. I'm not good with cars. I will listen to you about them. I like being outside. Like, I would like to go just walk around outside or sit in a hammock if we had one. So that's about it, yeah. But I think because we were talking about where I was born and then coming here, I think a good topic for us to talk about is where we've gotten to live. Because I don't think a lot of people know that you've moved around a lot and have gone to a lot of places because he was in the military. And then I have moved a lot in between Georgia and Kansas, but then on my own, went to Florida, and then I lived in Virginia and California with you. So I think it's kind of fun. We just talk about where we were both born. So go ahead and you start where you were born.
I was born and raised in Kansas City, Kansas. No, but I grew up in Kansas City area, the metro, pretty much my entire life. I have family on the Missouri side. They're Mizzou fans, yuck. So yeah, I pretty much grew up here my entire life, and I go over the Missouri side because of my mom's side of the family was there. So yeah, we did that a lot, and eventually I joined the military. I got to live up in Illinois for about 6 to 8 months probably.
Yeah.
And then I got stationed on the USS Monterey CG-61. It's a cruiser because I was in the Navy, and that was my home. It was stationed in Norfolk, Virginia. We ended up living in Virginia for about 5 years almost, or I lived there for almost 5 years.
Yeah, you lived there from 2008 to 2013.
Yeah.
And I lived there from 2009 to 2013. So.
Yeah. And then from there, I got stationed in San Diego, California. We were there for about 2.5, 3 years before we moved back to Kansas because that's where we wanted our roots for our family to start. It's kind of a hard decision, but because California was nice, but the price of living sucked completely. Everything was expensive, and you couldn't really do much. You had to get on a highway to go anywhere. So, and traffic and me and yeah, it doesn't mix well if you're sitting in traffic a long time with me.
Yeah.
Anger management really could help in that situation. So, yeah, that's about it. I did travel the world a lot, so I've been to a lot of different countries and different places throughout the U.S. Like, I've been to Key West, Florida, I don't know how many times. Been to Georgia, I don't know how many times. So.
What about overseas? Because I think it's the coolest. So like all the ports you got to hit on the plane. But I know it's a lot.
It's a lot to remember, but I went to Spain, I don't know how many times. Romania, Ukraine, Bahrain, Saudi Arabia. We went to Europe, Belgium, London. Man, I can't remember everywhere, but there's a lot. Rome, we went to Greece a couple times. So yeah, I've traveled the world and seen a lot. So
okay, so for someone like me, I've not got to go over on that side. I got to luckily go to Costa Rica, and I've been to the Bahamas and stuff. So if you were telling someone, like, they're like, okay, where should you not go and where should you go? Like, you must go there or you should not go there because it's not worth it.
I don't know. I'm kind of a history buff, so I liked Greece just for the Greek mythology. I really enjoyed that growing up in history and going and actually seeing the Colosseum in Rome and the Vatican and things like that. It was really interesting, and to actually see it in person, it's kind of like, wow, it did exist. It's just not something you saw in books and read about.
Okay.
Some places I wouldn't want to go is, I mean, France was all right, but it seemed like people were really rude to Americans.
It's because you have to speak Francais.
No, I just don't think they like Americans. I kept getting nasty looks, and then when we were on the train, some guy like stopped and stared me down, and I was just like, "Can I help you?" And he just like gave me a nasty look and walked on.
Just say bonjour.
No,
Salut, ça va?
no, I'm not doing that.
You don't. Yeah, it's fine.
So, and then I loved Spain. I love Spain and the history there, the culture. It's really neat. But I like Europe pretty in general. Middle East it's nice. Like, we went to Dubai, and it's cool seeing that culture and seeing how much money's over there. Is kind of scary, but it's also kind of cool going outside the mall and seeing all these exotic cars that you never get to see in real life, or maybe on the road, but there you can go up and like look at it.
So it's like a real Fast and Furious.
Yeah, it was. Okay. So, but the culture over there is totally different. It's just everywhere we went we always had like a little debrief on things you should do and not do, and it's kind of crazy some of the countries' laws they have. Like, you can't show the bottom of your feet. It's very disrespectful in the Middle East. If you picked a vine from Naples, Italy, you could get fined and put in jail for picking up off the tree a grape. It's just some of the things we did
didn't we have we had weird laws when we lived in Virginia. Yeah, so that's one of the places I got to live with you, is Virginia. One of the laws that I was not aware of this is a fun story for us. I was not aware of this until it happened. But we had a party and people were taking their shoes off, just being polite. I walk around our house without my shoes on, or at least with slippers. Nothing of it. And one of my neighbors the next day said, I don't know if you're aware, but in Virginia, if you allow more than 5 people in your house without shoes on, it's considered an orgy and they can fine you. I was like, what?
Yeah, it's a Commonwealth state, so they got a lot of like laws and stuff from back in like the 1800s that still are in effect. So a lot of their laws from back then are still in effect to now, and you don't realize it because you don't think about it.
I mean, that was like one of the first things that stuck out. Well, okay, that I should say that's the second thing. So the first one that stuck out to me, you got a kick out of it because we took me to the beach.
Virginia Beach.
I said in cuss word, okay? Like, I try not to cuss so much around the kids. I'm trying not to do it on here. I'm really good about it at my job. And if I first meet you, I'm pretty good about it. Once you get to know me, you'll hear my filter come off. But I said something, and I think you're like, you can get us a ticket for that. You can get fine. I was like, you're full of garbage. Then he pointed out a sign to me, and I think I started laughing so hard. Did I start crying because I was laughing? I'm like, what do you mean that I can't cuss? Like, I thought there was something freedom of speech, but you're right. It's a Commonwealth state. Yep. So like you said, they have really strange laws that you don't know about until you come across them.
Yeah. And then I think it was like a $250 fine if you got, because they have police down there on bikes walking around.
Yeah.
And it's not good because it is a naval town or city pretty much. So you got sailors and we got mouths on us. So they make a pretty good penny just off of us. So, because it is just really in Virginia Beach is the only place you get fined for it. I don't understand why that law is in effect or whatnot, but yeah, it's there and it sucks.
So since we both lived in Virginia together, I think since states that we lived in together or haven't been, or since I had you talk about your favorite place overseas, and of course I'm getting a phone call right in the middle of this, and I'm actually going to answer it. Just let him see what we're doing. Hold on. Hi, Dad. We're doing a podcast. Sorry. You're all right. Talk to you later. Love you. He's like, sorry. All right. Anyways, I swear I turned that off too.
You have to get your brother?
What?
You have to get your brother today?
No, my brother is off work. Actually, I told him he could do one with me and I completely forgot. So I'll have to do one with him maybe tomorrow.
Okay.
Anyways, so we lived in Virginia together, and so I decided what was one thing you loved about Virginia or missed or you appreciated about living there?
I liked our friends that we had. That was the biggest thing there.
Yeah.
That was hard for me to leave because we had a lot of friends.
We did.
Just in Virginia. And some of them actually got to move to California, which was cool, but it just seems like we didn't get the camaraderie in Virginia, and hanging out with our friends was a lot better.
And I think in Virginia, that's something I agree with. I met my best friend Danielle there, which I actually get to see again this year. So if Danielle, if you're listening, shout out. But I got my best friend there. I became a matron, I was her matron of honor. I have got, she's my, I've got kids. So I think you're right. I met the greatest people there that I still talk to on Facebook. I stay in touch with them. It was a lot of camaraderie. We had a lot of parties. Our car could break down. We call somebody and someone's there for us within 10, 15 minutes. That is something I think we gained out of Virginia very, very well.
Yeah.
But is there anything that you disliked? Because I know what mine is.
I disliked having to go through tunnels to get to everywhere, and sometimes the traffic, and whenever it rained, it seems like everyone lost their freaking mind.
I agree with the tunnels. So I don't know about the raining part, because I think I'm going to save that for the others. Others. The tunnels, I 100% agree with you. I also felt like with Virginia, a little bit different than Kansas, even Florida, and even California, that you could be in one part of the town and legitimately step 2 blocks and be in the wrong side of town. Yeah. And you didn't know where you were and which area you should be in, or what city it was, or the conjunction of it. Because although it was Norfolk, there was lots of little pieces of Norfolk compared to and that's the same way with California. When we were in San Diego, there's little bitty pieces of cities. Whereas here in Kansas, when you say that you're from Spring Hill or Olathe or Overland Park, they're spread apart. And kind of exactly where that line is and where that border is. Yeah,
it was weird because once you did get in a neighborhood, our first house was weird because you get into it the first 2 blocks and it was real sketchy, kind of hoodish, and then as soon as you get 3-4 blocks in, it starts getting nicer. And then once you're 5-6 blocks inside the neighborhood, it was really nice. And you're like, this is so weird. Just depending on what block you lived on.
And I remember which blocks I could and couldn't walk with Perla. And I remember I think it was the first week or 3 weeks I was there, and I had to call you because I walked her a certain way. And some lady's like, that's my dog, give me back my dog, and started chasing us. I was like, dude, I've had this dog since she was 8 weeks old.
Yeah.
And crazy stuff, And so I think that's something I didn't miss about Virginia. It's just I was not aware of where things were in the tunnel system. But I loved the food there. There was stuff to do. Lots of camaraderie.
Yeah.
So after we were in Virginia, you mentioned we went to California.
Yep.
So with California, I know what I loved about it, which is going to sound silly, but I think you probably know.
I don't know. I loved actually the junkyards there. To be honest,
we have silly reasons why we like
that
California.
and like I'm a big BMW guy, so like California is like the mecca of BMW, and I met a couple of guys out there that they're pretty much family to me as far as BMW community and everything. I do anything for them, they do anything for me, and they weren't even in the military, which was cool. And it was just like the culture there is so much laid back. Like everyone in Norfolk, it seemed like they were uptight, had something up their butts majority of the time.
Yeah, you had to find the right people.
Yeah,
like if they weren't Navy people, because I'm thinking even when I worked at the zoo, there was only like 3 people that were actually from that Norfolk area, and like they didn't seem like that, but everyone else was like, you're right, like they had a stigma about them, and they were just like stick up their butts. And like,
but in California, everyone's like laid back, cool,
very chill.
Hey man, how's it going? And it was cool, and yeah, I love that. I mean, sometimes the weather's nice. Don't get me wrong, but if you're coming from a place with seasons. It'll drive you nuts. Because like I remember going to the mall.
Oh yes.
Around Christmas time, they're playing all the Christmas songs. It's like playing "It's Cold Outside," and I'm sitting there in tank tops, flip flops, and shorts, and I'm like, it's 75 degrees. This does not feel like Christmas.
I think also too what my problem with California, and I never understood this, is, and it wasn't just our house, because I got to go to other people's houses and our neighbors we would talk to. Your house had a radiator, like gas radiator for heat.
Yep.
There was no AC though, and it was majority of these houses didn't have AC.
You lived with your windows open like 24/7.
Yes, and it was just like, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. And when I finally got pregnant out there, I was miserable. Because there was no AC, so it was a little strange in that aspect of like you're living without AC, but you have a heater in here. I don't even think we ever turned on those heaters. We had a fireplace. Did we ever use the fireplace?
I think we did it one time.
One
just
time.
To try.
Oh, it was for like New Year's Eve or something.
Yeah.
I think we turned it on just for the like effect of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was.
I think it was too expensive to live there.
And
like, I mean, it was nice. It was beautiful. Don't get me wrong, but the price of living really hurt. When you're paying what now we're paying here now. Like $4 or $5 a gallon back then. Yeah,
it was back then when we lived in there in 2013. It was about $4 or $5, but now like it's $9 there.
I saw $9 in some spots. It's just
I wouldn't be able to work where I was working if that was the case of us living there, because I used to drive, and this is what I don't miss about California. I loved my job. But the drive, I would drive 40 to 45 minutes into work, through the traffic, through everything, to go to a job that I seriously cried when I had to leave, because it was like the Virginia Zoo and the San Diego Zoo Safari Park were my 2 of my favorite jobs besides what I have now, and then where I worked that I'll get in that'll be a whole other topic we'll have to talk about. But yeah, I think that's what I miss about it is I don't miss the traffic, but I do miss my job.
Yeah.
I met a lot of great zoo people, and I still talk to some of them. And it's not camaraderie like Virginia where I've stayed close, but it is like really cool to see like how they've expanded their animal like backgrounds and see them work through that. California was pretty. I think the best thing that came out of it is we actually got into the infertility doctors out there. We got through to the doctors for them to help us get our oldest. So that was another thing, is I felt like the healthcare out there was a little bit quicker of making sure they got to you and helped you do what you need to do compared to Norfolk.
That and just my job perspective, it was so much easier. If I needed time, they're like, just take time. You don't need to put in leave requests or anything like that. So, I mean...
Especially because of the time I had to go to, like, the hospital.
I mean, it was just
immediately, like, get there.
A totally different culture. And, like, if you're not very adaptable to, like, people, you're going to struggle moving a lot, I've noticed.
I
think I can get along with anybody, anywhere. It doesn't matter, diversity groups, culture, whatever it is. I can adapt, like, on the fly pretty much because of it.
Yeah, we've both had to adapt because we've had to move with the Navy. But then before that, I had to move. So I've kind of realized I go back and forth. it's really funny when we moved back here. I thought I would just go straight into the flow of like picking back up with people, but I noticed I'm not good at that. I think it's the more of meeting new people. And so it's just this year that I'm kind of branching out of my shell. Like, hey, do you guys want to go do something? You want to hang out? Like, so yeah, moving back here, that was from California was a little bit harder of a decision because we enjoyed California. Our house that we had amazing. I seriously cannot praise our landlords that we had out in California enough. Like whoever ended up back with them, or if they moved back into that house, they were like the most amazing landlords.
Yeah, compared to the ones we had in Virginia, where she lied to us multiple times about her husband's rank. And trying to say he was something that he wasn't when we found out when I got out to California, he was the same rank as me. I was like, oh, you're one of those type of people. Yeah.
Well, and you know what? Karma came back on them for that though, because our second house. So it was our second house in Virginia got foreclosed on and the city tore it down.
Yeah.
So that house doesn't even exist anymore. The city put a brand new like
house
up. It's gone. So our second house that we lived in is gone. I don't know what is with our first one. We got out of there pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the landlord's fault. They actually didn't even need to let us out of the lease. They were just being awesome about it. That's not even really a story I want to unfold. It was neither Chris or I's fault. It was a previous tenant, is all I'm going to say. So it was great that we did get into that second house because there was so much more space and it wasn't a better like central location for where I worked and for you getting to work. Because I worked at the zoo, so it was actually closer to the Virginia Zoo from where our first house was. And then going to the base was easier from that second house. It was just... At the very end, our landlord put us through
the
ringer. I mean, it almost came down to like, I'm gonna get military lawyers because you're breaking military protocol law, like with this stuff. So yeah, that's my complaint about Virginia too, is that. But California, the reason we left, like you said, is we wanted to be back in Kansas. Well, I should say more you, because I still give you credit about this. He wanted to come back to Kansas. I could move other places. Like I could go to Colorado. I could go to Georgia. I could go to Florida. It wasn't that I didn't fully want to come back here. It was just more so of, okay, we haven't been back to Kansas in 6 years. Yes, we visit and see people when we visit, but I didn't know how it would be moving fully back. Like I didn't know how the relationships would form back. I luckily have one friend that like we always pick up right where we left off. We can see each other twice a year and it's great. I've met some other good people here and reconnected with like a friend from high school that was in our wedding. So that's been great. But you've gotten to really reconnect with people.
Yeah.
And I think also too, it was good to move back because my mom, dad, and brother are here. And they would have moved anywhere. I should say that. Yeah. They would have moved anywhere we were going because I was pregnant after long struggles of trying to get pregnant, which I think that we'll save that for another topic because I feel like that's something that should be talked about because no one talks about it. But I don't want to do it on this one. I like talking about the moving. So yeah, you want to move back here for family, and that's great. My family has still stuck it out here. Trust me, we've all been like, hey, can we move somewhere? Can we go somewhere else? It just hasn't happened. If it ever happens, cool. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I have luckily landed in a school district I'm in love with, and I like our little small town feel. Sometimes I feel like we're kind of naive in this town compared to what my family goes through in Georgia.
Yeah.
And even what my friend goes through in Florida, like they're telling me stuff and I'm like, we don't have that in our schools and we don't have this kind of stuff going on that we constantly have to worry about.
Yeah.
And so I feel in a way we're a little bit...
I also think our school districts in this little area are
top notch.
And
that's coming from someone that's moved. So when I moved from, and you have a story about even moving from city to city.
Yeah.
So when I moved from Georgia, when I was down in Georgia, I was excelling at school. And when I got here, I noticed it was a little harder. And I had to work really, really hard at school, and that's fine. I just didn't realize how harder it was going to be. And I really had to push myself, which I'm fine. It's fine I did. I mean, I took college classes when I was a sophomore. I took AP classes. I really pushed myself because I wanted to. I did honor rolls. Like, it was fine that I got pushed, but I felt like if I was in Georgia, I seriously could have sat back and you guys, like, I could have partied and I could have done so much more of doing nothing and gotten really good grades compared to the school districts out here, because they're great about academics.
Yeah.
They want everyone to succeed. They want those high test scores nationally and statewide. They really push kids to be academically successful. So I did appreciate that and seeing that transition. And I think that's a lot of the reason my parents stayed here, because they were seeing how well my brother and I were doing in these school districts, like in the Blue Valley School District.
Yeah.
So, but yours is kind of the same way. You said you noticed it between cities. We were talking about that one time.
Yeah, because like 1st through 3rd grade, we grew up in Overland Park, Kansas, which is right here in the metro, close to Olathe. And then we moved up to Kansas City, Kansas. It's like maybe a 25, 30-minute drive. And we moved there, and I was getting a lot better grades. My parents didn't understand. The teacher said I was doing good. They came back and was like, how are you doing so good in school? What is it, because we moved up here? What is it? And I was like, no, I learned all this stuff like last year and the year before. So like I was repeating stuff that I already knew how to do. And that one year, when it was like my 4th grade year, we moved back towards the end of the year, and I ended up having to go to summer school for like 2-3 years to make up for that not even a half a year difference, just to get caught back up to my class. So
is that between states or cities?
Cities.
Okay. And see, that weird between cities, because I feel like is that a different county? I know that's what
Yeah, it's a different county, but the problem was once we found out that...
My nose is tickling, I'm sorry.
Because I was in Wyandotte County, and that school district wasn't accredited.
Okay.
So all the Johnson County schools are accredited, and their academics are a lot better. So yeah, that was kind of the major reason. Once my parents found out that it wasn't accredited, that's when we moved right back down here. And yeah, I struggled for a little bit, but I got back up, and then I really pushed myself to do better.
And moving wise, you didn't really move different states. Like,
no,
I had to do that. And in college, we were both in Pittsburgh, but I did move to Florida during that time. I got to live in Florida for a little bit while I worked for Walt Disney Company.
Yeah.
And I had to do, I say remote learning. Y'all, this was remote learning back in 2006.
Yeah.
So a lot different than what we're used to now. And it was extremely hard being away out of like a classroom and doing that. And so not only, because everyone's like, well, then you worked for Disney, you just got to go do fun stuff. You're right, I got to go to the parks. But he can vouch, there have been days that I'm like, I'm in a class right now. And he's like, how are you in a class you're taking? No, to not only be part of the Walt Disney College program and stay at your school on your, for example, I had to, like financial aid, stay on that. I had to take those remote classes from my school, and I also had to take a class down at Pitt State. So on Thursdays, and long as I know it's Thursdays, it was like a distinct day. It was on Thursday mornings, and Sharon and I took a course together, and it was for college, and it turned into college credit. It was 3 hours of college credit, but I had to go every Thursday, and it was for 2-3 hours a day. So we would do that. We go back to the apartment, eat lunch, and then we would go to the theme park. So Thursdays was like always our theme park days, regardless of what. And then we'd have to match up other days that luckily or hopefully her and I would get the same days off, or like I would work a morning shift, she would work a night shift. But there were some days that I was working long shifts. So yeah, and in Florida, doing school remotely is hard. So for anybody that did that during the pandemic,
well, that too, and we didn't have the technology
right
today it's a lot easier.
It would have been a lot easier. So but I mean, seeing the difference in Florida of schooling, because Danielle was on there and we were talking about schooling and just some of the differences. And then when she visited here, she was talking about the differences of like Florida and stuff. And it's funny because I'm like, I know I live there and the differences of Florida and here are so, I don't want to say astronomical, but it really is. Like the traffic situation, the way things are laid out, obviously the seasons, and then the people. Because in Florida, there's this like split where half are like
Crazy,
and then like half are really chill and like down to earth, and then you got that little bunch that's like transplants or tourists. And I mean, I hate to say it, I was one of those. I would drive 10 minutes to work at Walt Disney World, and I was one of those. But it's really weird down there, because I feel like with California, it's kind of fixated like, this is what you get, and Virginia, this is what you get, and here, this is what you get. But where it's Florida, and correct, I mean, like maybe it's because I didn't live there a long time, but I still lived there. It was just different.
yeah.
And Georgia is, you have people either think one way or the other way, and there is no in between. And I am such down a middle person. I am a people pleaser, as we know. I don't want to do confrontation. I don't want to hear about certain things. I am like straight down the middle. I try to see the both sides of everything. And Georgia, even before crazy pandemic time or even before anything else, it has always been one way or the other way. So it's like every state I live in, there is a different personality and different ways of doing things, or you get made fun of things that you say. So, Chris, this is my best question as we start rounding out about us moving and favorite things we've had living. Is there any slang or terms you picked up living here, Virginia, California? Any words you learned, or even when you're in the military, or even when you lived in Illinois for that short time, did you pick up terms that you catch yourself saying?
Not really. It's more of how I act towards people sometimes.
Okay.
But I pick myself up. I'm like, oh, I probably shouldn't have said something like that. That might be taken wrong. Or,
Is that based off where you're at the time, or is that just in general? No. Because I have noticed Chris did not, when we first met, have a good filter.
No.
You don't have a good filter. And he would just say things, I'm like, you need to check yourself.
I'm very authentic in what I say.
You very much are. And that's what I love about you, whereas I think that helps when, and that's also, if Marie, you're listening, that's why I like Marie, because she's very authentic. And it's not that I'm not authentic. I just try to people please everyone. So I'm like, okay, what do I say? And how do I say it? Except for you, because I don't think we mentioned this. We've been together for how long? Let's see if he figures this out. How long have we been together?
So 13 years will be our marriage.
Yep.
And our 4 years on top of that, so 17 years.
Yep.
17 and a half years.
Yep. Yeah. Because,
So
17 years was in January, because we met early January. We decided to be friends first.
yeah, for like 2 weeks.
Yeah. A few weeks.
Yeah, but
See, it's good to be friends first, and then you learn that you actually like each other.
I don't know. Over time, I've realized you need to quit being a people pleaser, especially in the military. You can't please everyone. So I've learned really quickly, like, don't try to please everyone, because you're just going to be torn and exhausted from it. So
Yeah, we know.
just be very authentic and speak your mind, because yes, it might make people mad and they don't understand it, but I'm sorry, I'm not here to BS you. I'm here to help you do what you want and achieve what you want. And I'm not going to sit there and sugarcoat things for you. If it's hard, I'm going to tell you it's hard. If it's easy, I'm going to tell you it's easy. And
I don't think I don't tell people it's not easy or sugarcoat it. I think I just put it in or I ask what they're feeling. I think that's my thing. I'm always like, what do you feel? And I almost think that's California that rubbed off on me, which I also noticed what I picked up from California. You could probably tell the like.
Yeah.
I never used to say that. And I keep catching myself Georgia is not, when I get mad, you really hear
Southern accent.
Mad or drunk, the Southern accent comes out. I will always say y'all.
Yeah.
Darling, bless your heart. Those are my things, and that's gonna stick with me. Or that's just peachy. You hear me say that? That's just peachy. Here, it's been oh. And I'm like, oh, no. Florida, someone's like, did you pick up anything from Florida? I don't know. If people are watching this on YouTube, you'll be able to see it.
Yeah, your 2 finger.
It drives him crazy. He's like,
Just point with 1 finger.
It was trained out of me, sir. It was trained out of me.
Yeah.
Disney did that for me. But yeah, things I've picked up from different. Yeah. I've noticed too, I think I have wardrobe different, like problems picking a wardrobe because of where I lived. Have you ever noticed that?
Not really.
I really like this, but that would look better if I wore it in California.
Yeah.
Florida. But it is what it is. I know you hate me saying that.
It is what it is.
Things Chris doesn't like me saying. It is what it is. Stop that. Yeah, it's the Enneagram 9 to me. I apologize. So I think that's about it. What are we sitting at? Just out of curiosity.
41.
Oh, minutes. Good. Let's just wrap it up. What do you think about that?
That's fine.
I'm going to try to keep this thing under 45 from at least when I'm with you.
Okay.
I mean, because I don't think I'm going to get sick of me.
No.
I'm
kind of stuck with you for the rest of my life.
I know, right? So
I heard something today that was kind of cool, though. I was like,
okay.
This guy was like, well, I've been married, and it's going to be till our toe tags are in the ground together. I was like, that's kind of creepy, but I understand what you're saying, until death do us part.
Oh, yeah.
Until our toe tags are on.
Yeah, there's a song, remember I played it for you? I think it's called 6 Feet Under. It's a country song.
Yeah.
And I really stuck out.
Yeah.
I like that a lot. Yeah, so just to reiterate, again, Peachy Sunflower. Gonna be bringing on different co-hosts. I can't announce who's gonna be next because I have an idea, but I probably should just get with them first. I know I'm getting credit from certain people that they need to be on it first, which is fine. I think that's going to happen because it'll be fun. Because you know what?
Hopefully I'm more worried about the camera recording this
Yeah,
entire time.
you guys, so we did set up a camera. I don't know if this was recorded on camera. So if you're just listening and you're hearing us go, oh, well, look at this, because we do have a camera on, but we don't know if it's recording.
Yeah.
Kind of hit the button and walked away. So we'll find out if you're recorded and you are watching it on YouTube, the Peachy Sunflower. Please make sure to follow, hit the little button, right? The little bell. I mean, what does Mason call it? He calls it ding ding.
Ding
ding.
I've heard that. I've also heard you can tickle my bell.
Yeah, we should make Mason close it out though, because he's like, he always says it. If you want, make sure to subscribe to my channel. I'm like,
turn on
Mason,
notifications.
You don't have a channel. We let Mason it's 3 people on YouTube. It's the Mr. Beast, Blippi.
Yeah.
And there's 2 other ones that Preston and then another science person. It's something that's all underneath the kids' YouTube thing, and we're like, that's fine, especially while we're doing this.
Yeah.
But yeah, he says something like, you don't have a channel. It's like, well, Mom, when you and Dad get one.
Yeah.
So if you're on YouTube, please hit the like button. I don't know, tickle the bell. Subscribe. If you're listening, hit the follow button. I'm not going to say what date we'll be releasing these on. I think I'll choose one and stay with it. I almost thought about saying Sunday because that's our anniversary and that would be consistent. So when a year comes around, then I could be happy 1 year.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
We'll see.
We'll see if that happens.
Depends on editing and how long I can pick this up.
I know. Yeah, thank you, because I am not picking this up well of trying to figure out how to edit stuff. So yeah, we'll see who we have on next time. But Chris, I appreciate you being on the welcoming episode of Peachy Sunflower. So thank you, and I'm going to make a rule if you're on with me. You're not saying the tagline of your exit from the other podcast. So think of something else. But friends, remember to stay peachy. Throw some seeds out there if you can, and have a great day and enjoy life. You want to say something?
I don't know. I can't say it.
I know you can't say it. Go ahead. I'll let you say
it.
Go for it.
I'll do it. So
go for it.
Yeah, just remember to follow us on whatever platform you're listening to. Like, subscribe, and if you have any comments or whatnot, please let us know. We're gonna try to get better with this over time. this is new to me because my other podcast, I don't have to do shit but talk.
Right. And I'm like, this one we have to do everything. So just bear with us. Maybe put down things that you might want to hear Chris and I talk about, especially people that know us. We don't mind talking about us. If you don't know us, still throw out an idea. I will have different co-hosts on. If you are a friend and you think you want to come on with me, or a family member, please feel free to be like, Kat, can I come on? Because I'm not going to tell you no. I'm not. I'm just going to go, yep, sure, let's plan a time. It will most likely be when our children are asleep. Or I can make Chris get them out of the house and we can just chill and drink and have fun. So until next time, thank you and have a peachy life.